Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we're in the shop today and we are going to be working on the Corvette here shortly. You'll remember from our previous videos that we showed you this. This is going to be our Topdon Rlink X3. Did a little bit more research on this and this shouldn't be that difficult to hook up. Basically, you're going to need a laptop, you're going to need a credit card, and we bought that for two reasons. One is to reprogram a bunch of modules. We'll get to that here in a minute. And two, you guys can use it as a Tech2 win. And from what I can tell, the modules, it's $45 for like 2 years per VIN number. So I think we'll be able to just buy that license, program all the modules that we need to. And then for that Tech2 win, there's two ways to do it. It's $64 for like 3 days, or I think it's like $265 for the month. So yeah, kind of expensive. There might be a way to get a free version of that, but I think for what we're going to be doing today, we will try the legit version first, get that downloaded, get everything plugged in, and just make sure everything works. If we want to look up other versions of that later, we'll go ahead and do that. But for today, I kind of want to use the legit source. But before we can do that, we have a bunch of wire harnesses disconnected. Obviously, still missing the motor, missing the clutch, all that stuff. And what I want to ensure is basically everything is ground properly. And what I mean by that is there's basically going to be a ground on the driver's side. There's going to be a ground on the passenger side, at least with the factory GM harness. I do want to mock something up for those, make sure that those are hooked up. And then the other thing is I don't have the battery cable connected to either the starter or this fuse box. So it's another thing we got to worry about. And then kind of the last thing after that is I also want to make sure the Haltech ECU can receive power as well. So, all right guys, this looks like a mess. Well, I'll be honest, it really is. But you guys can see down here we have a big fat battery cable coming to this. These are the two grounds from the engine harness. That is coming through here. That is the ground that's over here in front of the dry sump tank. So we have the Haltech ECU ground there. We have the engine harness ground there. And I think those are the only two grounds that we are missing. I do have the positive from the starter coming to the fuse box. So we got power there. And then, so that's this big fat cable. And then the skinnier cable is the positive terminal coming out here to the ECU. All right, two quick updates. The ground that's near the ABS plug, so this plug right here, that has been tied into the same shared ground that we had down below. Over on the fuse box, I have pulled the fuel pump relay. Now, this shouldn't activate in any situation, but you know, guys, you never know with what's going to happen. So pulling the fuel pump relay, because like I said, previous videos, if we do accidentally try to start the car, I don't want that thing getting power and pressurizing and it coming out our fuel rails, because we got an open fuel rail there. We also got an open fuel rail on the return coming back from the fuel pressure regulator. So yeah, they are sealed with those plastic plugs, but I don't think that'll hold up to 60 PSI. So yeah, let's try to go ahead and hook this thing up. I have literally no idea what it's gonna do. And yeah, okay. Oh, it's complaining about something. The odometer is reading 33,000 miles. Well, that's new. Lights are on, so headlights work. Okay. Rear lights do not work. Tail lights are not on. Interesting, there are halogens in the lower dash harness. We'll have to upgrade that to LEDs later, but I did hear the RCLDR. It's like the remote control, whatever that is. You guys heard that trying to click? Okay, interesting. So, things work, sort of. Well, I think we've officially pissed it off. I tried to turn off the headlights and it honked at me. Now the doors are no longer flashing. It's not trying to open, and the security light is on. I was expecting that, so that is not totally unexpected. Let's cut the headlights. I don't want to kill the battery. But I also need to hook up my battery charger because this has been basically sitting unplugged for I don't know, 7 months. Let's hook that up. It's a NOCO battery tender. Let's plug that in. All right, guys, you can see we have our laptop open. We have the tech line to connect with the Welcome to Service Programming 2. And you guys can see we have the car just kind of in standby mode. I don't have any key fobs programmed to it, so that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to program the BCM, the remote vehicle control module up there, and I've been trying to connect it. I can connect the tool to it, but it is not allowing me to. So if I, select reprogram and replace, and I kind of do over here, I go to like the auto connect, auto detect VIN here on the bottom. It is not allowing me to connect. So I haven't quite figured out everything with this, but we were able to get the Rlink registered. And I'll be honest, guys, this thing is kind of a pain in the butt. I had used the instructions from Topdon. They give you 2 sets of instructions, and I was going to attempt to film it, but it ended up taking like 30 minutes. Had to create an account for the Topdon website, get that logged in, and you actually had to have a car that was running to activate that thing. So I just came outside, plugged it into the OBD2 port, plugged it into the laptop here. So once I got that paired, I was able to go ahead. There's a GM driver. I ended up downloading that. And then in the Topdon software, there is a button to go into the GM website. You register for there. Well, you have to register for their website. And guys, use Chrome. I've been using Firefox. Failed epically. Tried to check out with this programming module software. Didn't work. Wouldn't connect. Finally, got rid of Firefox. And so using Chrome, I was able to go ahead, get right into the website, get everything registered, create an account, download the software, and are now. So yeah, that's like 2+ hours of work, and I don't have much to show for it. So I'm going to keep trying to figure this thing out. I have some new key fobs ready to program. I was hoping to be able to do it through the, programming module. All right, guys, don't ask me what I did, but I just kind of clicked a different button, and it was able to go ahead and go into the menu. So I'm going to try to program the BCM and see what it'll do. I selected the body control module. You can see it is trying to read the vehicle data. The dashboard has flashed a couple times. That went from green to red. So I don't know. All right, guys, I am going to block out the VIN number, but we have reprogrammed the VIN number to the one I wanted. And it does say my subscription has been updated. But yeah, so this is working. And so yeah, that is the first module of this thing that we reprogrammed that should be working. So I've got a lot more to do. And basically, to reprogram everything was $45, and I think the tool was $150. So less than $200, and we were able to reprogram everything in here that we need to. And I did update it to the latest edition for the body control module. So whenever Chevrolet updated that last, I think we're good to go. So there's the OnStar module and the VCIM. I'm going to try updating those. And like I said, it's just one after the other. This is what I was trying to show earlier, but you guys can see we are downloading the updates for the VCIM as well as the OnStar module. And basically it downloads it from, the internet, and then it starts flashing to it. And yeah, so it writes it out to the car. So yeah, this is taking a couple minutes for each module. All right, guys, good news, bad news. Good news, we have all the modules programmed except for the ABS computer and the VCIM. The VCIM kept giving me errors. I tried it twice. It gave me an error both times. So I'm just gonna have to go ahead and look what the error meant. I'm not too worried about it. It's one module. I don't know if it's the radio. I don't know if it's the XM module. I don't know if it's the OnStar module. They're all interconnected. So yeah, that gave us an error. And it might be the fact that I don't have the OnStar antenna plugged in. But we were able to go into the remote control, basically the key fob little module. We're able to set that to be, ready to program. So that has been flashed or basically detuned, unpinned, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so that should be good. The real bad news is I just went and paid Chevrolet for 3-day Tech2 Win tool. I went to go plug in our tool. So this is the end of the Topdon cable. This is what plugs into our laptop. And you guys can see a broken connector there. This little adapter from the USB-C to the USB-A, yeah, that is totally shot, and it pulled the wiring right out of this connector. Now, I don't know if you guys can cut this apart, try to repair that. I've never tried to repair wiring for a USB connector. I don't know if that's something that could be done. So we are actually still within the return window of buying this on Amazon. So I'm just going to go ahead and send this back. I did a return through Amazon through the mobile app, and I basically optioned send exact replacement. So that's kind of the option that we're going to go with. I know there's other options out there. Basically, they sell the Topdon, I think it's their J2534 adapter. It's longer, but I don't know if it has a cable or not. That might be something we move to in the future, but if I can just go ahead and get a replacement on the way, that's going to be great. The other bad news is that $65 I just spent, that's basically out the window because unfortunately Chevrolet, it's 3 days consecutive back to back to back. So it is Wednesday now, Wednesday night going into Thursday. I'll ship that back tomorrow, Thursday. They probably won't get that until Saturday, maybe next week. And then they probably won't send me a replacement for a week. And the other bad news is we're supposed to get a huge snow and ice storm this weekend. So if this even gets out, I don't know what Amazon's return policy is. Like if they get it detected at UPS that it's been scanned in, do they automatically send a new one? I don't know. I don't know if the return is, I don't know if that replacement unit is dependent on this one getting back to them. So I don't know. It just sucks that, you know, we were almost done with what I wanted to do with this whole project and this stupid connector broke. There is a long manual method of replacing the key fobs, of reprogramming them. I think now that I've already got the car into kind of I cleared out the old key fobs and that RCL, DRL, whatever that's called. I'll have that corrected down below. Now that that's in like program pair mode, I'm going to try the manual long version. I think it takes 30 minutes. It's like you have to go to the back. You have to hit the lock like 5 times, turn it with a key, go back in, press some buttons, and then it's supposed to, you know, pair key fob 1. And then that takes 10 minutes. And then I think you go back to the back, turn the key again, and then you pair key fob 2. So that's 20 minutes right there. And I think the first 10 minutes is clearing it. So I think we've already done 10 of the 30 minutes. So maybe we'll be able to get the key fobs to work. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I want. I just want to make sure I can get into the car, and when we do have the motor, when we're ready to program the Haltech, you know, I want to try to eliminate all of these issues. Yeah, we were not able to program the VCIM, but again, without a set of key fobs, I can't see what it's doing. Is it just the radio? Has the radio been theft locked? Has that been activated? If that's the only issue we've ran into, you know, that might be why we couldn't program it. I don't care. Not a bigger deal. So let's go ahead and try the key fob method tomorrow when it's daylight out and a little bit warmer, hopefully. And hopefully we can knock out the rest of this programming. Oh, and I was not able to program the ABS computer because, fortunately, I left it unplugged and our tool broke. So we will have to do this again. All right, guys, it is the next day. You guys can see the sun is out, so hopefully it's a little bit warmer today. But basically, I think where we left the car, I think we've got enough modules programmed so that everything's gonna line up. I think we can try to go ahead and manually program the key fobs. There is a long way to do that. And the 2 things I read and watched, there's some videos on YouTube, was the car needs to be in reverse. So I have done that. I've moved the shifter over to reverse. I also plugged in the transmission tunnel harness over here into the engine harness because that was disconnected yesterday. And if there's anything that needs to be reverse lockout or anything like that, that should have signal now. So we should be good there. So, and for us to program the key fob, pretty much the easy way to do it manually is you turn and unlock the hatch. You turn the key 5 times really quick. Should put the car into the key fob program mode, and you're basically going to do that 3 times. So The car will have a countdown on the driver's information center. It'll basically say 10 minutes to deprogram. We do that, and then at the end of it, it should say pair key fob 1, pair key fob 2. So I guess doing the programming yesterday, we were able to get it to read ready to program key fob 1. Apologize if you can't see it, but that's what it says, ready for fob number 1. So open your glove box, put the key fob in, and hopefully it'll program. All right, it says it programmed key fob 1. It's ready for key fob 2. Stick it in a little slot. Push it in all the way. All right, I think we're good. Let's pull it out. I only have 2 key fobs for the car, and it just unlocked. So apparently us reprogramming that module last night, we got this working without issue. So here's the key fobs. I'll be honest, I don't remember which one's which now. Unlock works. Let's hit lock. And the reason you're not hearing the horn chirp is because when we were messing around with this last night, starting to hook up cables, the horn kept going off. So I unplugged it. Now if I plugged it back in, it should theoretically work. All right, so I know it'll unlock the doors. Will it release the hatch? There you go. You guys just heard the hatch pop up. Cool. All right, so let's confirm the doors. Let's hit lock. All right. All right, so that's probably a good, I don't know, 20 feet, give or take. I think I locked it. Yep, it's locked. You guys can hear the relays clicking inside. Well, the other cool thing is I replaced the crappy 2005 key fob with this 2009 and newer one. And these are, I'll be honest guys, the external housing is straight up off Amazon or eBay. I think they were like 10 bucks. But I picked up 2 of these, swapped the guts in from a other set of keys that I had. So now that I've tapped the car on, you guys will see we have a bunch of error messages. Anti-lock brakes, fuel system, everything else. And also if you look here, I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, it does say theft lock activated. So that does mean we are going to have to figure out that VCIM and make sure everything is working. Because right now, I bet you what it is, the wire harness and the old programming to the radio does not match what we have programmed to the BCM. So we'll have to get that figured out, but I don't think that should be that difficult. But hey, if the radio not working is the only major issue we're going to run into, I can't complain about that, considering we have a bunch of junkyard parts on here. The engine harness, the interior harness, all the modules on the inside, they all came from various different cars. Now the core things all did come from the same car. The fuse box, the engine harness, the transmission harness, the interior harness, that all pretty much came from the same car, but the BCM, everything else kind of came from something else. And so far, it doesn't look like we need the factory ECM just yet. You know, we haven't quite gotten there, but, you know, to maybe make everything be happy, that might be the one thing we still need to get. But as of right now, I'm not going to order it because I'm just not sure we will need it. All right, guys, our new Topdon connector came in, and I was way more cognizant when we plugged this thing in to make sure we didn't put any extra pressure on this little stupid connector right here. And we've already actually used the dongle. So you guys will be able to see under the hood, you see this red cable going over to the driver's side of the fender. Well, what I had to do was I had to split the 3 grounds I had put right in the middle, and I had to put one over to the driver's side. And if you guys can see that bolt way down under there, basically behind the little fuse, that is the extra connector right there. And what we've already done is actually connect the ABS pump to the wire harness. So had to basically create that new ground so that we could run it. Actually, if you guys can see that silver loom right in the middle of the screen, it's basically the one going underneath the fuse, going underneath our ground. That is the engine harness for the driver's side. We wrapped that around, plugged it into the ABS module, and we were good to go. So got back in the car, hooked up our computer, and you guys will see a screenshot here. Took a screenshot of us updating the module, and that actually took a little bit of research. They want you to program the module to the options that you have. And so when I got to the ABS module screen, there were actually like 10 or 11 different RPO codes that you had to select to make sure you guys have the right one. Well, I already knew off the top of my head, F55 is the mag ride option. So that eliminated half. Of the non-F55 RPO code selections, they were kind of split between automatics and manual. And so I had to look it up. I think it was like MC6 or something like that. That is the automatic 6L80, so that eliminated 3 of the 5 without F55 RPO. And that leads you to the manual options. So there were 2 RPO codes that we basically had to program the car off of. One was MN6, the other was MZ6. MZ6 is the not Z06 or Z01 geared ratio transmission. It is the Grand Sport gear. For the 2005, it was actually the Z51 gearing that this car would have came with stock. So we selected the MN6 because I do remember that being the transmission code for the 2006 to 2008 Z06 transmission, and that's what we have in here. So we selected MN6, and then there were like 2 or 3 more RPO codes. I didn't break it down any further than that because honestly, that's the one you want. You want to make sure your ABS module is programmed to the gear ratio that you have set up in the car. And in our case, we wanted the MN6, and that has the Z06 gearing in it. So just be careful when you select your car and which options you go through. You do kind of need to know your RPO codes. And like I said, MN6, Z06 gear, we're good to go. Since that is the only module that we have not been able to reprogram, I don't know if it's bad just yet. I'm gonna have to go ahead and activate our Tech2, get another 3-day license. Maybe it'll do the month. We'll just have to see how much it is again. Activate that. We will unlock the radio to get that functioning. And then the other thing I discovered on some random website is the XM modules can only be programmed once. If you want to add XM to your car, you want to reprogram an existing used module, you actually have to take the cover off and cut a pin on the circuit board. I'll include a picture of that here. So maybe if we fix the issue with the XM module and the radio, that might allow us to go ahead and reprogram the VCIM module. I'm just not sure at this point. Now, the VCIM, that is actually something I'm kind of familiar with. What I did was, back in the day, I actually used to have a 2005 Duramax, and we've actually done this same swap. I added a Trailblazer SS, I think it was out of a 2009 Trailblazer SS VCIM. I bought it from the dealership. They asked for a VIN number to program it to. I gave them a Trailblazer SS VIN number. So they put that VIN number, programmed it, and they shipped it to me. On my Duramax, all I did was swap out the unit, added the Bluetooth antenna, which we did to this one, and everything worked just fine. Now, the OnStar didn't work, but the Bluetooth did work. So I will get that activated and hopefully resolve the issues with that module. But I did discover one thing when I was sitting in the car, and that is going to be, if we turn the lights on and we head over to the passenger side, we did a little mod in a previous video. Just want to show you proof that it works. And I apologize for the buzzing. If you guys look over here, you guys see my hand glowing orange? When you turn the headlights on, the mood lighting for the shifter works. This is something they eliminated in like 2007, 2008. So I think that's pretty cool. We were able to keep that Easter egg from the 2005 and use it on the 2011 harness. All right, one last update for tonight, and that is going to be these O2 sensor plugs. 2 of these came with the 2-inch headers. That's why they are coated black. I think they used to be coated in Jet Hot or something. I think this third one came from a wideband sensor and also came with a bolt to fill that bung. The one thing I am missing, when I initially bought these Cook's headers, they came with one of these. Maybe I destroyed that specialized bolt when I removed the plug for the wideband and we installed that a few years ago. I'm just not sure. So, and the reason we need to plug these is because we are no longer going to need any of those bungs for the O2 sensors. We're basically going to put the wideband from Haltech right into the header. So there and there, we need to remove those. And we're, like I said, we're just going to use the widebands that come with the kit from Sean. So yeah, let's go ahead. We'll get these put in. The one thing I'm going to say, always make sure you use some anti-seize, because guys, you never know where you're going to need to unplug one of these. That bung for the wideband, that was plugged for like 10 plus years. I never used it. I never got a wideband until we put the E-Force in here and we started turning the boost up. When it was stocked with the E-Force, I never cared. It wasn't until we ran out of fuel pressure on the dyno, and that was when we needed to start paying attention to additional information. And then long term, that's what led us to do this harness swap as well as the Haltech ECUs because of data. And there you go. We have all three of the O2 sensor bungs that are on that X pipe that have all been plugged. We're good to go, and that's one less thing to worry about. All right, guys, this is not the original ending to this video. I've already shot another ending, finished editing it, uploaded it to YouTube. But I actually had a huge breakthrough today, and it wasn't really worth my time putting a separate video out there. It wouldn't be that long. So we're just going to delete everything that I'd shot yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. And what that breakthrough is, we finally got the Tech2 to program, and we finally got some of the stuff working. So the first thing that we got programmed was basically the radio, and you guys can see that it no longer says theft lock. The car is on. We've got a bunch of error codes. We know about that. Now it's pissed off about the fuel. You guys can see the radio does work. We turn up a little bit. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but the one thing that doesn't work, we hit XM X2. It switches over to XM locked, but it is seeing the channels. So like preview, emergency alert, XM locked, emergency alert. So it's kind of working. The second thing you'll see is if we go through here, and you'll see it says shocks inoperative and then service ride control. So those two modules are tied to the BCM, and those are not working. You just saw the two errors for the shocks being inoperative and, you know, service steering or whatever that last message said. Well, I actually went into the BCM, tried to reprogram it and go through the options, but when we try to connect the BCM to update it, it's throwing an error for a missing PCM. And the PCM is basically what connects here down to where the Haltech currently is. So unfortunately, that basically means that we're gonna have to go ahead and buy a PCM or the engine control module. You guys can see we have the Haltech plugged in, but obviously the Haltech won't communicate with the stock stuff, and we need to get the stock stuff working first before we swap over to the Haltech. So I've already got a line on a ECU off eBay, and they will pre-program it for you, so I'll go ahead and give them all the information they need. And when it gets here, we should be able to connect to it, and then connect to everything else that we need to do on the BCM, update, deselect the mag ride, the F55 basically, and we should be golden. So that's the first thing not working, but I think we've already got a solution for that. Now the second item that doesn't work, you guys saw, was the XM. It basically said XM locked on the radio. I'm pretty sure what that is the chip on the motherboard that's inside of the XM module that's on the driver's side rear. Basically, it's pre-programmed and you can't change it. I've basically seen most people say you try to reprogram it through the BCM, and that's actually what we did. I'll have a screenshot of that here. I went in there, went to the DRR module reprogram, digital radio receiver reprogram. It said it completed, but it didn't do anything. We still have that XM module locked on the screen. So that didn't work. There's basically one or two ways you could do it. You could cut the wire, which I think is what we're going to do. We showed you a picture of that earlier. The second, you can buy all this fancy tools and stuff, and basically you can buy like an EEPROM reader. So what that is, it's basically a computer chip programmer, and somehow you get that chip, you attach to it, run a computer to it, run some kind of software. I saw a video on this, and then those guys actually were able to reprogram all the numbers in it so that it worked with the car they were putting it in. I'm like, yeah, that sounds expensive, because there was software you to buy, hardware you to buy, tools, and I'm just like, yeah, I think we could just go ahead and try to cut that wire, and if that works, great. If it doesn't, we might have to look into that. Then the third item that doesn't work, it's not really related to the Tech2, but I also try to connect to the VCIM, which is the voice command interface module, or the OnStar module. I tried to connect to it and it didn't work. And I think what happened was, I think when I put that in, I had noticed the connector was physically kind of sideways in it. And so I think the motherboard inside that box might be messed up. So I think we may just have a bad unit. And I think I bought that in a package deal of like $200 for all the modules. I'll have to look, but I just found another used module. It was like $75 shipped. I think I'm just going to go ahead and buy that. And if you were wondering how we finally got the Tech2 to work, well, that actually happened by putting a post on the Facebook group for the Topdon group. Also submitted a trouble ticket to the Topdon website, and they both told me the same thing. Long story short, you need to delete the driver folder, reboot your computer, and then restart everything, but don't connect to the GM TDS website or the TLC. So basically what they want you to do is go into the GM software folder. There's a GM folder, and then there's like Tech2, and then under the Tech2, I went in there, copied all the files, I put them somewhere else, deleted the folder, and if you actually go into that folder, there's a log file. If you open it up, it'll tell you where the actual driver is. I think it's like C Windows System 32, and then there's like a E something.sys file. It's spelled out in that file. I also deleted that. So I went ahead, copied those the files like I said. I reran the install file for the driver. It worked. I rebooted. I plugged in the dongle, the Rlink X3 from Topdon, plugged that in, plugged it into the computer, and then I basically just launched the Tech2 application from my desktop. I didn't log in AC Delco TDS. I didn't log into the TLC, whatever it's called, window. I just launched the application from my desktop and not connected to the internet, but connected to the car. Booted up. The Candy module actually showed up. I'll have a screenshot of that here. It loaded, the Candy module loaded, and we were able to get in. And so yeah, those two new modules, we basically need to order and reprogram those. I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know how long shipping is going to take. So we're just going to end this here because last time I looked at the editing, this video was almost like 40 minutes long. So I think we're good. But yeah, so if you guys want to follow along for those updates, we'll probably just include that in a future video. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. We'll drop you a link for the Rlink X3. That ended up working pretty well because it worked for both the Tech2 side of the diagnosis stuff as well as the module programming. It worked just fine for that. And so we'll give you a link to that. Also, make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. You know, we have plenty of C6 used parts that will be on there. We got stickers, we got merch, t-shirts, all that stuff. Check all that out, and that's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.